Hey folks, welcome back to Fresh Produce. I'm Pete from BTI. Today we've got a super special guest, Wade Simmons of Godfather's Garage, also of the Freeride legend. Really the godfather of Freeride, that's why he got his name. Welcome to the show, Wade. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really stoked to have you. You're by far the biggest mountain bike celebrity that's been on Fresh Produce.
Right on, Pete. I'm happy to be here, man.
Yeah, sweet. So excited to talk about your new brand and just hear about where you're at in the world and your thoughts on bikes. And yeah, man. So tell us about Godfathers and when it started, first of all, how it started. What's up?
Well, we're coming up to a 1 year anniversary here, which is pretty exciting. We did the official launch of Godfather's Garage June 20th. And it's been, it's been busy. It's starting up a new company. I'm a sales rep up here in BC now. Of course, I was a pro rider for many years. Stoked on that, the free riding. Won the first inaugural Rampage.
Inaugural, yep. I was just going to say that. Cool.
And then, of course, I starred in many, many mountain bike movies. Probably the pinnacle of my career is jumping over the Marzocchi truck.
Yeah.
In New World Disorder 5. You guys probably remember that.
Oh yeah.
I'm a mountain biker first and foremost. I grew up here on the shore, Vancouver's North Shore, and when I started riding in the late 80s, early 90s, there was no such thing as free riding. It was just mountain biking.
Right.
There's no categories, dual slalom and downhill was starting just to separate a little bit at that time.
And most of the time, still all on the same bikes too, right? You're like riding one bike, yeah.
But from the start, I've always liked bikes. Like I worked at a bike shop in Kamloops. I actually graduated high school in Kamloops, BC,
cool.
Which is a hotbed of mountain biking, freeride mountain biking.
Right.
A lot of the freeride movies come out of there, Kamloops. And I was mountain biking at the time in high school, and my first job was at a bike shop. I worked at Spoken Motion, which is actually still a shop in Kamloops.
Sweet. Shout out to Spoken Motion. Cool.
One of the shops in Kamloops, and I was a bike mechanic there. I started working building bikes, and then I bounced around. My dad got transferred to Vancouver, and as a kid I followed him here, and I got jobs in bike shops here.
Not a bad place to move to either. I'm sure you were disappointed, but also stoked.
This is like early '90s, no cell phones, no internets, right? Like
yeah.
I found the trails here on the shore organically. Like I looked in a phone book, and I looked at bike shops, and I rode to those bike shops, and I said, "Hey, where are the trails?" And they draw you a hand-drawn map.
Yeah, that
was the start of me riding on the shore. And at that time, mountain biking on the shore was just getting started. Like no digger, Todd Fiander, the digger who did the North Shore Extreme series. Yeah. He was kind of a mountain biker, but no movies at that point. And then, like a year of that kind of riding around and figuring out the trails, bumping into people, sharing phone numbers because you have no, hey, send me a text or whatever, right?
Yeah, right. Write it down on the scrap of paper in my pocket. Oh, yeah.
And then really the only skills I had were working on bikes at this point. And I got a job at the Deep Cove Bike Shop.
Cool.
In the Cove, kind of a famous area in North Vancouver.
Yeah.
And at the base of Mount Seymour. And I started working there and just got immense into the mountain bike scene right when it shifted gears into it's something. Mountain biking is growing.
Yeah, sort of the beginning of really what it is today. Yeah.
I came from a BMX background. I raced BMX for 10 years of my life as a kid in Kamloops, in the mid 80s when BMX was pumping.
Totally.
I actually represented Canada in 1985.
Whoa, I had no idea. You're more recent.
A 13-year-old, BMX racer.
Sweet.
So my skills transferred well to the mountain bike, because I could jump, I had good bike stability, and that translated awesome to the shore. So I was an instant good trail rider.
Yeah.
And I remember this mountain bike company, or I forget who it was, but they brought mountain bikes to the BMX track, and I threw a leg for a mountain bike, and I was blown away by the granny gear. I was blown away by this low gear that you could climb. Because I spent my whole life in the BMX track.
Yeah, on a single speed. Yeah.
Now imagine a kid beyond the BMX track and what's possible.
Yeah, you can actually get around town without just like getting off and pushing your bike or standing up, hammering. Yeah.
That's what blew me away is that I could like granny gear up like these climbs, and all of a sudden, I don't know why, but I really gravitated toward the technicality of like trying to climb these hills
Cool.
and, in reverse going down and then moving to the shore, all these trails that were naturally there. And then you bump into the people and, I could talk your ear off for hours about that, but you know how it goes, like
yeah, lots of history there for sure. That's really cool.
Pulled out the camera. We started riding. I was a bike mechanic. I was a pretty good bike mechanic, actually. I built a lot of hand-built wheels.
Nice.
The Code Bike Shop was kind of the shop at the time. So myself and Johnny Smoke, this old legend buddy of mine, like we just highballed bikes. Like, a busy bike shop when at the end of the day, you got a stack of rigid forks because every bike got a suspension fork put on,
Nice, yeah.
And we'd have stacks of like these rigid forks sitting there. The RockShox was just coming out with the new suspension, the RS1.
Yeah. That was probably around the same time as BTI was getting started and they were doing suspension service on those first RockShox.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it was a suspension service company out in Ashland, Oregon when we first started.
Ashland, wow.
Yeah, and the owner was just doing suspension service and started kind of carrying the products to support that stuff. And that's the start of BTI right around the same time with RS1 for sure.
That's a very organic start to the game,
Yeah, you got it.
And, to kind of like dovetail on that is like, like my career evolved as a free rider. I kind of, I did as much as I could on that, injured myself lots, and now I'm turning 50. So I'm getting out of the game that way. And I started to be a sales rep a little bit, for 4 or 5 years, I was selling Rocky Mountain, selling the companies that I rode for, like Raceface, Marzocchi, Fox, Easton. It was a natural progression. I got a great reputation. I've never, I'm a small town Canadian guy, right? So it wasn't like, I was well respected, and it came easy to be a sales guy because people, of course, appreciated my history with mountain biking and I loved it. I love mountain biking, right? So I kind of, and I'm a bike mechanic, and I thought, what, like, what's something that you have to use every day on a ride is bike lube,
Yeah.
And being a mountain biker, I live mountain biking, and I kind of looked at all these other companies. There's no one had a good mountain bike story in the lube game. Like they all either came from motocross,
your moto, yeah,
or they came from the auto industry. Some companies do have a good story, and I've done the research. But why couldn't we make our own lube that's manufactured in Canada?
Yeah, especially when you know what it needs with all your experience. I think that's makes sense, definitely.
All I've ever had is a job. I mean, I've had a job at Pizza Hut, McDonald's, when you're like 15, 16, right? But in terms of like my, from like 17, 18 on, I've been a bike mechanic.
Yeah.
And I know, I'm a pretty good bike mechanic. Like say when we went filming on the Freeriders with Richie and Tippy, half my life, who do you think worked on their bikes?
You were the one wrenching around the campfire at night, huh?
Yeah, I would watch Slade, like try to fix his gears. I'm just like,
hopefully they probably won't be watching this, so
I hope I'm going to send it to them. So throwing them under the bus. You want to hear a quick story? Actually, you got time for this?
Throw it in, yeah. Let's do it.
So there we are in the Dolomites in Italy.
Yeah. Shooting
photos with Tippy and Schley. So Tippy goes down, you take turns, right? Okay, drop in. Tippy takes some photos. And then I hear this, something happened to my bike, I'm like, oh, fuck, Tippy, here we go. Like, he's the worst mechanic. It happens. And it's late in the day, too. Like, the sun's going down on us, up in the Alpine, right? So this is kind of the last golden hour shooting. We're cracking it. Tippy has a bike problem. Go down to him. His brake pads shot out of his bike.
Oh, no.
Like either the retaining screw, backed out, right? Kind of boom. Anyways, Saint brake pads, Shimano Saint, no brake pads. So, let the cat out of the bag, but I always carry, like, if I'm up in the Alpine at a day long shoot, I always bring stuff like redundant in case, you bring a hanger back in the derailleur hanger days, like you bring a hanger, you bring a gear cable. I always had an extra set of brake pads.
Wow. That's coming prepared. Nice job.
So Tippy's sweating because here we are sitting at like 2,000 meters, like 6,000 feet of descent ahead of us.
Yeah. No brakes.
In dusk, right? So he's flipping out. He's got no rear brakes for the descent. So I tell Schley, I'm like, Schley, come here. He's like, I go, I got brake pads, but let's let him sweat for a while. So for 20 minutes, we scour like the 50 feet that he rode looking for his brake pads.
Yeah.
And I was sitting down having a snack, and he's getting mad at me because we weren't looking. He's like, dude, you gotta help me look for my brake pad, man. Like, I'm gonna get off this. I'm like, you'll find it. Like, don't worry about it. Anyways, he never found it, and I go, Tippy. I go, look at this. Look what I got. He's like, whoa.
You made me look for that long, stressing out over here.
For like a good 20 minutes.
That's great. Got him down the hill. The man with the plan. That's awesome.
So yeah, I wanted to, I want to leave a legacy. Of course, I left a legacy with biking. And I said, I thought there was, opportunity here for some Canadian bike lube. Nothing had a story and a solid mountain bike story. So that's really the birthplace of Godfather's Garage.
Cool.
And it's not only going to end with lube. We do. We came to market with 4 products.
Yeah.
We got an e-bike specific lube.
Right.
We can dive into the different properties of the lubes. We do of course a wet lube and a dry lube.
Yeah, we've got them all here too on the BTI shelves.
And then we have a grease.
Yep, we've got the grease.
So I thought, if we're going to hit market, we better come out with like kind of a nice offering like lube and grease. But Godfather's Garage is it's not a bike lube company. It's more, right? So you can think of anything what's in the garage. This is my legacy, man. Like I want to be, I live the Godfather's Garage. So
it's super impressive what you've done in just a year. So hats off to you, man. This is a pretty cool setup, and I love the story that it is made in Canada. A couple other things I wanted to just touch on that I think are really pretty special is that you use sustainably sourced natural-based oils in all the lubes. Like that's pretty unique in a lube. So tell us about that real quick, or the choices around that maybe.
So when we started the company and we're checking boxes, okay, if we're going down this road, what do we need to be like? It's nice to be manufactured in Canada. We're the only lube manufacturer that does a 1% for the planet. 1% of our profits go to a foundation of our choice kind of thing. Sustainably sourced. Like we want to be non-toxic, of course, environmentally, safe, sustainably sourced. So with the environmental conscious on everyone's mind, the health of that,
for sure. I mean, we're also out there enjoying the forest, the rivers. Might as well kind of keep that in our mind and just at least have a little bit of that idea going into all these products. So I really appreciate it. I also just going back to your original story, I do also really think that, of course, your history as like the Freeride legend is really big in this regard, but actually being a sales rep and like managing a fleet of demo bikes and getting bikes ready for consumers on a daily basis, that also seems to me like some really key experience and some really key like time to just know how to make a ride proper every time it goes out for somebody who's really expecting the most out of it. So I really appreciate that.
I describe it like this, like lube's like toothpaste. Some people are Colgate, some people are Crest, and that's what they buy. Like people don't put a lot of thought into lube.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that we worked hard on these formulas, and we were like a year and a half of testing on this stuff with the said bike shops that I mentioned earlier, and then our demo driver. So we're the official lube of the Rocky demo truck right now.
Perfect. Yeah.
And Pat Cox, our demo driver here up in BC, he's had the stuff for a year and a half before we went to market, and he was using it on the demo bikes.
Yeah.
Those demo bikes, as you know, see a lot of mileage.
That's what I'm getting at. They're going in and out every day, and like people are demanding the most out of it, and they're going to tell you if this bike they're thinking about buying is working or not. So I think that's some pretty prime testing before you came to market.
Our stuff has been heavily tested, and it's as good as anything out there. Absolutely, 100%. I'll tell you, Pat Cox, our demo driver, said that he gets, when he apply lube on with another manufacturer on the bikes, he'd have to re-lube during the day.
Yeah. Of course, they're a demo. I would assume, demos going in and out. People are putting tons of miles on. You just kind of do that in between riders a lot, right?
And you know what he said? I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but he says, he's like, dude, I get all day out of one application.
Cool.
People like, this is what we found, doing market research and stuff. People like light lube. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But the dry lube has gone lighter and lighter.
So let's just talk about the different kinds of lubes. You have a really unique product here with the e-bike. I know some other folks are coming out with that too, but let's talk about why would an e-bike need a different kind of lube than an acoustic bike, a regular bike, whatever you want to call it. But
e-bikes have way more torque.
Totally. The chain's literally under more watts coming between the motor and the cassette all the time, right? Whenever that motor's actually helping you, it's triple the watts you're normally putting out.
Exactly. So we actually use a bit of a different base oil in this, polyalpha olefin.
Okay, cool.
It can handle higher torque.
Okay, cool.
And a bit more heat resistant.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I know I was the first time I ever pulled a nail out of a board and I felt how hot it was just from moving a little half inch or whatever out. That little tiny bit of friction does generate some heat. So I know what you're talking about here. And I think that can be applied in the same way to each little movement on the chain once it's under a lot of torque, right?
And we made the viscosity a little heavier.
Okay. So it might be a little more friction if you put it on your regular bike and you're just feeling it on your legs.
Oh yeah. This would be too heavy for your regular bike. It's strictly e-bike. And e-bikes they're tough on stuff. And when e-bikes are tough on drivetrains, they eat drivetrains. You have to have a tough lube. That's the bottom line. That's it.
Cool. So you've also given us a good reason why you probably shouldn't run that e-bike lube on your regular bike. Let's talk about your regular bike lubes.
Both the wet and the dry kind of have the same additives to it. The dry is just simply a lighter blend. We looked at what was offered out there and the different weights, and we kind of wanted to kind of get in there with the big players, right? A good honest mountain bike story, and the product is well tested, and they can take pride in that,
Absolutely, yeah. So I think this is going to go well on any of those shops that are core mountain bike shops where your customer base knows Wade Simmons, knows what history free riding and mountain biking has in Canada in general, and our whole industry really. So makes a lot of sense, and I think it's going to work really well for a lot of our customers.
As I said, lube is only the start. We almost have a bike wash done right now.
Cool.
People love bike wash,
We all got to wash our bikes. Like you say, we're out there riding in all the conditions. So.
And our concentrate is, we'll make probably 10 liters from 1 liter. So it's pretty high. It's more than, other people out there.
Okay, sweet.
And then to piggyback on the bike wash is, we were playing around with what kind of dispensers for the wash,
Yeah.
Concentrate, and we want to get away from plastic as much as we can. And we found this aluminum bottle. So we have this recycled aluminum bottle.
Love it.
With kind of a sprayer head.
Yeah.
So this is a 1 liter bottle. So that's going to be sold with the wash, probably a little package, right?
Cool.
And you can imagine where we're going from there with brushes and a bucket and stuff like that.
Nice. Sounds good.
As for more product coming down the pipe, we do have a degreaser. We're working on a degreaser.
Okay. Seems like that'll go along well with the product, kind of be a back and forth type use. I love it.
So that's going to be a nice package for a bike shop. And then, we've got a sick hat.
Nice.
Cool logo and t-shirts, we're already there. We're ready to press go.
Sounds good, man. So the bike shop folks out there, keep an eye out for Godfather's Garage. It sure does seem like we've got a great product to start with a great story and a bunch of follow-up products. So we'll have a lot more additions to the BTI catalog and the Godfather's catalog as well.
Pete, we always kind of want to be a bit high quality, right? So our logo is pretty good, and we do this display.
Oh yeah, wood.
And this is available, and through BTI, dealers can get this as a little talker beside the till,
Yeah, absolutely. So dealers, if you want that prime looking display on your counter, hit us up. We'll make it happen. I think that's a pretty cool addition, and it does look really high class. So thanks for adding that one in.
You can see where we're going, but we're going to have a bit of a Godfather spin on it, right?
Love it. You've got a great history in the business. great history with mountain biking as a whole, and I can see you're bringing a lot of passion to Godfather's Garage. So thank you so much.
No, I'm really happy to have the opportunity to work with you guys, BTI, and just looking forward to growing it for years to come.
Awesome, Wade. Well, thanks again, man. Really loved chatting with you, and this has been informative about your product, your background, the business as a whole. Love it. I think a lot of our bike shops out there are going to love it too. If you are a consumer who watched this and want to try out some Godfather's Garage, make sure you ask at your local bike shop and tell them BTI sent you. Thanks again, Wade.
Pete, take me up on my offer. Come up here and ride too.
Oh, you know it, buddy.
Hey, buddy. Talk soon.
All right.